In 1402, Sigismund von Luxemburg, having no male heir, named Duke Albert IV von Habsburg of Austria as his successor. Duke Albert IV died in 1404, and Sigismund promised the throne to his son Albert V of Austria. In 1409, Sigismund and his wife Barbara of Celle had a daughter, Elizabeth. To ensure a smooth succession, Elizabeth and Albert V were married in 1421. But when Sigismund died in 1437, the estates of the realm of St. Stephen seized their chance to attempt to put a stop to the recent absolutist tendencies of the crown. The Diet of the realm offered the crown to Duke Albert V von Habsburg, but on condition that he annul a lot of Sigismund's reforms, also known as dangerous novelties and harmful customs, and return to the estates the liberties these prelates, barons, and nobles and their ancestors relied upon and cherished in the times of the holy kings, and especially under the late most serene Lord King Louis of blessed memory. Albert, thinking that he could backtrack on this at a later date, just like Sigismund did, agreed to get the crown. Albert of Hungary, Dalmatia, Croatia, etc. was crowned on New Year's Day 1438 at Székesfehérvár. Albert had to issue a coronation diploma where he promised to not violate the constitutional order, like imposing taxes on nobility and the church, or calling the nobility on extensive military service, or giving land and office to foreigners without approval. He also promised that almost all of the king's decisions will be approved by the royal council. Albert, soon after his coronation and appointment of his royal council, left the realm in order to be crowned to the rest of Sigismund's old titles. He was elected as the new King of Germany and King of the Romans by the Prince-Electors of the Holy Roman Empire, and he was approved and crowned as King of Bohemia by the Estates of Bohemia, after fighting off supporters of the Polish Prince Casimir Jagiellon, son of Ladislav II of Poland. While Albert was away, he left the realm of St. Stephen under the regency of his wife Elizabeth von Luxemburg, and Elizabeth inherited her father's absolutist tendencies, and decided to dominate the royal council and attempt to rule with an iron fist, which did not make the estates of the realm happy. And in 1439 Albert had to return to the realm to prevent a revolt from breaking out, which he managed to do by giving land grants to potential leaders of the revolt, decreasing the shrinking royal estates even further. To stabilize the situation, Albert called for a Diet of the realm at Budak in May of 1439, and issued an edict confirming all of the promises he had made, but he was pressured into making a quite significant change. Instead of just seeking approval of the royal council, which was appointed by the king, a lot of the king's decisions now needed approval from the Diet of the realm. No tax could be issued without approval of the Diet. No levy proclaimed without approval of the Diet. No office could be conferred upon foreigners or land granted to them without approval of the Diet. Men in charge of the realm's finances needed to be approved by the Diet. Marriages of royal daughters required approval of the Diet. The king may appoint other councillors, but future appointments to the office of Palatine were subject to the approval of the Diet. Now, I might have said the word Diet a lot there, and in effect I'm talking about the top-level gathering of the politically relevant persons in the realm of St. Stephen. Almost every area of Europe had some sort of system of assemblies or meetings of the politically relevant, to in some way petition and advise the central authority. There were various bodies that could petition the central authority directly, or there was a system of bodies at various levels of relationship to the central authority, and sometimes it was all over the place with various privileges and exceptions. Sigismund before him and Albert himself had to deal with the imperial diet, and the diets of the crown of Bohemia, and the diet of the realm of St. Stephen, and however many other regional diets. All with their different laws, customs, privileges, procedures, needs, etc., united only through the personal union of the ruler. You can see how this can become difficult to manage. Of the relevant realms to us right now, Bohemia was still going through the aftermath of the Hussite Wars and the big social change they made by stripping the crown and church of most of their power and giving most of it to the nobility. But more relevantly to us, we have the Diet of the Realm of St. Stephen, sometimes called the General Diet or the Joint Diet of the Realm, because the kingdoms of Dalmatia, Croatia and Slavonia held their own diets with their own rights, but due to the centuries-long personal union and the system developing simultaneously in the kingdoms, they sent representatives to the General Diet. In the realm of St. Stephen, representation in the Diet was determined by the offices, titles and positions held by someone, or the amount of land someone held and how many tenants worked on it. If a minor nobleman didn't meet the threshold for self-representation, he could go to his local assembly of the nobility and decide on representatives that his municipality would send to the diets. Up until now, most of the diets were mostly held as assemblies that expressed consent to the king's policies, a sort of measuring tool for public opinion. The demands the Diet made on King Albert caused the change, as now they wanted to legislate and decide on policy along with the king and his council. The Diet wanted to return to an imagined status quo ante Sigismundi. But the very exciting development of the constitutional order was rudely interrupted by Sultan Murad II. An Ottoman incursion into Transylvania in 1438 went almost unopposed. Next came the invasion of Serbia in 1439, where Murad attacked his own father-in-law and Hungarian vassal, despot George Branković, who previously gave his own daughter to the Sultan, hoping to be spared the raids and invasions. But that didn't seem to work. Branković was forced out of Serbia and fled to his estates in Hungary, which he got from Sigismund. Albert mustered an army to help Branković, but by the time the army was on the march, Smederevo had fallen, and the army was suffering from severe dysentery. And so, Albert, by the grace of God, elected King of the Romans, always august, apostolic King of Hungary, Bohemia, Dalmatia, Croatia, Rama, Serbia, Galicia, Lodomeria, Cumania and Bulgaria, Duke of Austria, Styria, Carinthia, Carniola, Margrave of Moravia, Lord of the Wendish March and Port Naun, Count of Habsburg, Tyrol, Ferte and Kiburg, etc. Margrave of Burgau and Landgrave of Alsace also died of dysentery on the 27th of October 1439. In the middle of his wife's pregnancy, with, at the time, not yet certainly, a son.